On the day Odi married Ginika, even the sun seemed to shine with confusion. The church was full. The choir sang beautifully and people clapped and smiled. But there was something strange in the air. Something that nobody could explain. It was as if joy itself was holding its breath. Right there in the middle of the crowd was Mama Odi, a short, fair and strong woman with unfriendly eyes. She had raised her son alone after her husband's death by selling food at the roadside, sewing people's torn clothes and doing all kinds of work just to make sure he never lacked. Odi was her only child, her pride, her heartbeat and her story of survival. She often said, "If I lose Odi, I will lose my reason for breathing," and she meant every word of it. So when Ginika came into the picture, Mama Odi did not see her as a blessing. She saw her as a threat. From the first day she met Ginika, her spirit warned her, "This girl wants to steal your son," and that fear quietly breeded her mission. At the wedding reception, everyone expected Mama Odi to go hug the couple at the couple's table for a few moments and then let the newlywed shine. But she went there and she refused to leave. She told the MC boldly, "Call me co-celebrant. After all, without me, there will be no groom." The guests laughed, thinking it was a joke, but Ginika's smile froze and she looked at her new husband, hoping he would say something. Well, Odi only smiled shyly and whispered, "Just allow her, you know my mom." That day, when the photographer said, "Bride and groom, please hold hands and look into each other's eyes," Mama Odi stood between them and said, "Take one with me first." Everyone laughed again, but Ginika's heart skipped a beat. She did not understand why, but the wedding day felt like the beginning of a story that wouldn't end well. After the wedding, they moved into a beautiful two-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of Port Harcourt. Ginika decorated the sitting room with nude curtains and blue cushions, which were her dream colors. She arranged the photo from their wedding on the wall, the one where Odi held her hand and whispered something sweet that made her blush. And at that moment, she believed she was building a life of her own, something peaceful and something new. However, the peace did not last long because just 2 days after they returned from their short honeymoon in Calabar, Mama Odi called early in the morning complaining that she missed them and that her spirit was restless. Odi tried to calm her down, but before the day ended, she arrived at their gate with a small Ghana must-go bag, saying she only came for a few days. Ginika welcomed her cheerfully and even prepared pepper soup to make her comfortable. She truly wanted peace, but Mama Odi quickly turned those few days into forever. By the second week, she was already rearranging the kitchen, throwing away Ginika's spice containers and saying, "This one is not good. That one smells like rat poison." By the third week, she had moved her things into the room closest to theirs and began introducing herself to visitors as the landlord's mother. Then she started imposing her control, her opinions and her presence everywhere. She would knock at their door early in the morning to ask, "Have you prayed?" And if she didn't hear their voices, she would open the door forcefully and join them on the bed, saying, "Marriage that starts without morning devotion will end in confusion." She would watch Ginika cook and comment loudly, "You are putting too much salt. That is why my son's blood pressure is high. You want to kill him before me, Abi?" And whenever Odi tried to defend his wife, Mama Odi would sigh dramatically and say, "See how you now talk to your mother because of a woman. I knew this day would come." And that would make Odi fall silent, torn between guilt and confusion. He loved his wife deeply, but he loved his mother too. To him, it was just a small misunderstanding that time would fix. What he didn't realize was that for Mama Odi, this was not a misunderstanding. understanding. It was a competition. Every evening, Ginika would sit quietly by the window of their bedroom, watching the sunset fade behind the houses and wondering how something so beautiful could turn so dreadful. She prayed silently, God, please give me wisdom. I don't want to lose peace in my home. But it became harder each day. From the outside, Odi and Ginika's house still looked perfect. People at the neighborhood would point at it and say, God, give me this kind of home. The compound was neat. The flowers by the gates were always watered, and the smell of stew sometimes floated out in the evenings. But inside that house, there was no difference between it and an army barracks. Mama Odi had turned herself into the chief commander of the household. She made sure to wake up before everyone and controlled the rhythm of the day like a school principal. She followed Ginika everywhere like a shadow. When Ginika cooked, she stood beside her and stirred the pot without permission. When Ginika washed clothes, she would come to inspect them. Then she would shake her head and say, this one is still dirty. You young girls don't know how to wash. You only know how to post pictures. Sometimes she would deliberately pour away soup just to prove a point. I told you not to put crayfish last time. You've wasted my son's money again. At first, Ginika tried to laugh about it. She would tell her friends, my mother-in-law just has a strong personality. But deep down, she knew it was not true. Every night, she would turn on her side of the bed, stare at the ceiling fan spinning slowly, and then wonder when marriage started feeling like a trap. Meanwhile, Odi, on the other hand, was drowning without knowing it. His mother had mastered the art of guilt. She would wait until Ginika left the room. Then she would sigh heavily and say, my son, you have changed though. You don't even ask me if I have eaten again. Before that girl came, you used to bring me breakfast in bed. And Odi, who was filled with guilt, would rush to make her tea while she smiled secretly to herself. Slowly, Odi began to see Ginika through his mother's eyes. Every mistake she made now became proof of something deeper. If she forgot to add salt, Mama Odi would say, it is because she doesn't love you. If she was quiet, Mama would say, she's plotting something evil. One afternoon, when Ginika served lunch, Mama Odi took a spoonful of rice, dropped it immediately and said, the salt is too much. You want my blood pressure to rise so that you will be free to control this house? Ginika tried to stay calm. Mama, I am sorry. Maybe I added too much salt accidentally. Accidentally? Mama Odi snapped and slammed her spoon. Poison is now too accidental. You girls of nowadays don't respect your elders. You want to take my son away from me, but it will not work. Odi, who had just returned from work, heard the shouting and rushed in. But instead of calming things down, he scolded Ginika. Why can't you just be patient? Must you always talk back? Ginika's mouth fell open. I didn't talk back. Enough! Odi cut her off. Now, that was the first time he raised his voice at her. That night, Ginika cried quietly in the bathroom, pressing her towel to her mouth so that no one would hear. She wasn't crying because he shouted. She was crying because she realized that her husband was slipping away from her and she didn't know how to pull him back. A few days later, she decided to talk to her mother for advice. Her mother, who believed in endurance, told her, my daughter, don't fight your mother-in-law. Just be patient. One day, she'll get tired and leave. Ginika wanted to believe her, and in fact, she tried, but it was hard. One Saturday morning, Ginika decided to surprise Odi by making his favorite, bitter leaf soup with pounded yam. She spent hours cooking while Mama Odi watched silently. When she finally finished, she arranged the table and called Odi. He smiled for the first time in a long while and said, this looks good. He took the first spoonful and nodded happily. Ginika's heart fluttered. But before he could take a second bite, Mama Odi suddenly coughed loudly and said, wait, Odi, don't eat that. Everyone froze. Why, Mama Odi asked. I saw her put something into the pot when she thought I wasn't looking. She wants to charm you." The room went dead silent. Ginika's mouth dropped. "Mama, what are you saying? I only poured seasoning cubes." "Seasoning cubes?" Mama Odi shouted. "So seasoning cube is now powder, Abi? I saw you open something from a nylon. You want to turn my son to Mumu, Abi?" Odi's face tightened. He stood up slowly and stared at his wife. "Ginika, what is she talking about?" Ginika started crying. "I swear I didn't do anything. I love you." But Mama Odi also started wailing, holding her chest dramatically. "So, this is how my enemies want to use this woman to destroy me. I told you this girl has spirit of Jezebel." Ginika's words spun. She tried to explain, but the more she spoke, the guiltier she sounded. Odi, who was overwhelmed and embarrassed, quietly walked out of the dining room. He did not even finish his meal. That night, the house was so quiet that it hurt. Odi did not speak to her. He slept with his back turned while Mama Odi stayed awake, watching TV and pretending not to hear the sound of Ginika's muffled tears from the bedroom. And from that day, nothing was ever the same. Mama Odi began behaving like the true landlady of the house. She locked up the kitchen when she went out, saying she didn't want strange hands touching her son's food. She even started washing Odi's clothes again, smiling as she folded them neatly on the bed, while Ginika sat in silence. Once, when Ginika tried to take her husband's shirt from the wardrobe, Mama Odi slapped her hands away and said, "Leave it alone, you will stain it with your evil." Odi said nothing. He just picked up the shirt and wore it as if nothing happened. That night, when Ginika tried to talk, he sighed deeply and said, "Please, I am tired of complaints. You are always complaining about my mother. Just endure. After all, she won't live here forever." However, for 3 weeks after the charm in the soup drama, the house was still the same. Ginika barely spoke. She kept her distance as Odi still won't eat her food. He claimed he wasn't hungry, while Mama Odi continued to act like she was a saint sent from heaven to rescue her son from a wicked woman. Sometimes at night, Ginika would hear them talking in the sitting room. "Mama, I don't know what to do again," Odi would say. "Do? There is nothing to do. I told you before the wedding that not all women are wives," Mama Odi would reply, full of poison. "When a woman cannot submit to her husband's mother, she cannot keep a home." Ginika was helpless. She had tried everything: prayer, patience and kindness, but nothing worked. The more she tried, the more she became the enemy. Then the strange things began to happen. One morning, she couldn't find her wedding ring. She searched everywhere: the bedside table, the bathroom, even under the bed. Still nothing. When she asked Mama Odi, the woman laughed and said, "Maybe the ring ran away. Things don't stay where there is no peace." Then the next day, she found the ring in the most unusual place. It was buried deep inside a bag of rice in the kitchen. She stared at it for a long time, not knowing what to think or say. Was someone trying to drive her crazy, or was the house truly haunted by the hatred that now lived there? She told Odi what she found, hoping for comfort, but he frowned and said, "Ginika, please, stop these dramatic stories. You are beginning to sound like Mama was right." A week later, Mama Odi accused her of theft. She claimed that the 50,000 naira she kept inside her wrapper had disappeared. "I didn't take the money, Mama," Ginika protested. "Then who took it? Odi doesn't touch my things. Maybe it is the same hand that put juju inside the soup that took my money," Mama Odi replied. Before Ginika could reply, Odi shouted from the background, "Enough! Both of you should stop this nonsense." But he did not look at his mother. He looked at his wife, and that was the moment Ginika realized that she had already been judged before trial. 2 days later, a neighbor named Mama Peace, who lived in the next flat, knocked on her door and confided to her, "My daughter, be careful. I don't like what I am hearing. Yesterday, I overheard your mother-in-law telling another woman that you're trying to take her son's inheritance. She even said she will break the spiritual curse you came with. Ginika froze. She said, what? Mama Peace nodded slowly. You did not hear anything from me, but that woman doesn't wish you peace. Open your eyes. That evening, Ginika came back from her shop to find Mama Odi burning incense in a metal tray, walking around the sitting room. Mama, what are you doing? She asked. Mama Odi did not even look up. Prayers for cleansing. Evil spirits are in this house. Evil spirits? Ginika asked. Yes, since you entered this house, everything has changed. My son used to smile before, but now he frowns all the times. My body used to be very strong before. Now I get sick often. Tell me, who brought the bad luck? Ginika stood frozen. Are you calling me evil? Mama Odi smiled coldly. If the shoe fits my daughter, wear it. That night, Ginika could not sleep. The smell of incense clung to her nose and she kept hearing footsteps in the corridor. Even when everyone was supposed to be asleep, she began to feel trapped, as if the house itself was turning against her. And then, one day, while cleaning the wardrobe in the guest room, she found something that made her blood run cold. Inside a small brown envelope was an old and dusty folded document. It was a death certificate with the name Benjamin Okwuosa written on it. The father's name section read, Father to Odi Okwuosa. The man Mama Odi always spoke of with so much sorrow. So, why was another man's name written there? She took the paper and hid it inside her bag. She did not know what it meant, but she felt something big and dangerous was buried in that discovery. That evening, Mama Odi noticed the missing envelope. Her voice echoed through the house. Who entered my wardrobe? Who touched my things? But Ginika stood quietly, pretending not to hear. That night, when everyone had gone to bed, Ginika tiptoed out to the balcony to think, but as she sat there trying to clear her head, she heard Mama Odi's voice coming from the sitting room. The old woman was on the phone. Yes, I found the file open. I think she saw it. No, she doesn't know yet. But if she talks, everything will scatter. Just make sure she doesn't conceive until I say so. I will handle her from here. Ginika's knees weakened. She covered her mouth as she tried not to make a sound. Conceive? Handle her? What did that even mean? Suddenly, she felt cold all over. It dawned on her then that this wasn't just hatred or jealousy. This woman, her mother-in-law, was definitely hiding something deep that could destroy her entire marriage. The next morning, Mama Odi acted normal, but when their eyes met, Ginika saw a glint of fear mixed with malice. She wanted to confront her, to shout and ask questions, but she stopped herself. She knew she needed proof and she needed to be careful because whatever Mama Odi was hiding was bigger than an argument. It was a secret that had lived too long in that house, and she could feel that the time for truth was drawing near. Later that morning, Ginika went to her shop, but she couldn't attend to customers' orders. She sat at a place staring at the brown envelope over and over until evening. The death certificate felt like a key to something forbidden. Who was Benjamin Okwuosa, and why was he listed as Odi's father when Mama Odi had always said that her late husband's name was Sunday Okwuosa? By the next morning, her heart was restless. She knew she had to find out more. So she took a bus to the local registry written on the documents. The clerk there, an elderly man with grey hair, looked at the paper and adjusted his glasses. This man, Benjamin Okwuosa, he died in 1989. He left no known wife or children. Ginika frowned. Are you sure? What about his family? The man shrugged. The record says his wife was deceased before him. There was no mention of a child. Ginika's mind spun. 1989? That was 2 years before Odi was born. She left the office with her head pounding. Nothing made sense. If Benjamin died before Odi was born, then how could he be listed as Odi's father? Was there a mistake or a secret? When she got home that evening, she found Mama Odi seated on the balcony fanning herself while pretending to enjoy the evening breeze. Their eyes eyes met and the older woman smiled, but there was something in that smile. It was tight and forced. "Welcome, my daughter," Mama Odi said. "How was work?" Ginika forced a smile. "Fine, Mama, just fine." But that night, when Odi came back from the office, Ginika couldn't hold it in anymore. She told him about the documents, about the dates, and about what the registry man said. Odi frowned. "What are you implying, Ginika? That my mother lied to me?" "I am not implying," Ginika said. "I am just saying that the dates don't add up. The man on the certificate died before you were born." Odi stood up. "Maybe it is a different Benjamin Okwosa. And why were you even digging into things that don't concern you?" Ginika shook her head painfully. "Because your mother has turned my life into a nightmare. I need to know what she's hiding." However, before they could continue, Mama Odi's voice came from behind the door. "So, this is what you do now? Ganging up against me? Over documents that don't concern you?" Odi immediately turned. "Mama, you heard?" "Yes, I heard everything," Mama Odi said. "You see why I told you that this woman will destroy you? She's now investigating me. What kind of wife spies on her mother-in-law?" Ginika opened her mouth to speak, but Mama Odi raised her hand. "Don't say a word. You don't know half of what you are playing with." The tension in the air was so thick that it could choke. That night, Odi didn't speak to either of them. He slept in the sitting room, leaving both women alone with their thoughts. But Ginika couldn't sleep. Her instincts told her the truth was bigger than she imagined, and so by morning, she decided to visit an old family friend, Auntie Grace, a woman she knew had known Mama Odi since their village days. When she got there, Auntie Grace hesitated at first, but when Ginika showed her the certificate, the woman sighed deeply. "My daughter, it is not your fault that you stumbled on this. The truth is, Odi was not born by Mama Odi. She adopted him secretly after her husband's death. Benjamin was her real husband, yes, but they had no child. She left immediately after he died, and then 2 years later, she came back from Lagos with a baby boy. People assumed she had taken in before her husband died. But some of us knew the truth." Ginika felt her knees go weak. "And she never told him?" Auntie Grace shook her head. "No, she was afraid. She said people would call her barren and her son would never respect her if he found out that she did not give birth to him. So she raised him with lies. That is why she can't let him go. She's so terrified of losing him, not only as a son, but as her only identity." Ginika's mouth trembled. Oh my God. When she got home, she found Mama Odi sitting alone in the sitting room reading her Bible. She went up to her immediately. "Mama, I know everything." The old woman froze. Slowly, she looked up. "What did you say?" "I know Odi isn't your biological son," Ginika said. "I know you adopted him after your husband's death. You've lived in fear for years, but you don't have to anymore. He will still love you." Mama Odi's face turned pale. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she started laughing bitterly, the kind of laughter that sounded like pain wearing a mask. "So you went digging. You think you know everything now?" she asked coldly. "You think love is that simple? You think he will still love me after I built his life on a lie?" "Mama, you did what you thought was right at the time, but this lie is destroying everyone now. Please, let's tell him the truth." "Never!" Mama Odi snapped and slammed the Bible shut. "He is all I have. If he finds out, he will leave me. He will never forgive me. I would rather die than lose him." However, unknown to both of them, Odi had returned from work and was standing quietly by the doorway. He had heard every word. "Mama." She froze and slowly she turned. Their eyes met, and for the first time in his life, Odi saw fear in his mother's face. You heard?" she stammered. Odi nodded. All of it. The silence that followed was heavier than any shout. Ginika quietly stepped aside to give them space. Odi walked closer, trying so hard to fight the tears in his eyes. "Mama, Is it true? She tried to speak, but her lips trembled. I did it for love, Odi. I couldn't bear to live without a child. I saw you at that orphanage. You were so small, crying. I said to myself, this one will be mine forever. I named you after my husband's family name so that it would feel real. Odi's chest rose and fell as if he was struggling to breathe. You should have told me since. Tears spilled from her eyes. I wanted to, so many times, but every time I looked at you, fear shut my mouth. You were the only good thing I had left. Odi stepped back slowly, shaking his head. So all these years, all those times you said I carried you for 9 months. He paused and laughed a short, painful laugh. Mama, you just didn't lie to me. You built my whole life on a story that never existed. He turned and walked out while his mother collapsed on the couch, crying like a child. That night, Odi didn't sleep. He sat in the balcony till morning, staring into the darkness, while Ginika watched him from the window. Her heart broke for both of them. There was a mother who lied out of fear and a son who lost his truth overnight. After that night, the house remained painfully silent. There were no arguments or gossip, just silence. Mama Odi stayed mostly in her room and wouldn't eat. Odi went to work but came back late and wouldn't speak to anyone. As for Ginika, she moved like a quiet breeze between them, trying her best to avoid them both. And then, one morning, she found Odi sitting at the dining table staring at an old family photo. He looked heartbroken. She summoned courage and sat beside him. You should talk to her, Odi. She's broken. He did not look up, and so am I. I know, Ginika nodded, but forgiveness is not for her alone. It is for you too. She did you wrong, but it came from fear, not wickedness. Odi sighed and covered his face with his hands. I don't even know who I am anymore. She touched his shoulder. You are still the same man she raised, the same man I married. Blood doesn't make love. Choices do. And so, that afternoon, Odi finally went to his mother's room. She was sitting on her bed with her Bible open but unread. When she saw him, she quickly wiped her tears and tried to smile. Mama, yes, my son, she answered. Odi knelt before her. You made a mistake, but you are still my mother. I may not be from your womb, but I came from your love and I forgive you. Mama Odi broke down and wept uncontrollably. She held his hands tightly and cried, Thank you, my child, thank you. From that day, everything changed in the house. Ginika and Odi started doing things together more often. Mama Odi stopped interfering in everything. She began spending more time outside, especially at the women's fellowship at church. A few months later, Ginika discovered she was pregnant. She told Odi with tears in her eyes and he hugged her. This house will finally hear laughter again. Thank you, God. When they told Mama Odi, she too cried so much that Ginika had to hug her and console her. You see, Mama, God is giving you a second chance to love without fear. Months later, Ginika gave birth to a bouncing baby boy, and on that day, Odi placed the newborn in his mother's arms. She stared at the child's tiny face and smiled. He looks like you. Odi smiled. Yes, we will name him Peace Odi Okwosa because peace finally came home. Mama Odi nodded amidst tears. If only I knew love was strong enough to survive truth, I wouldn't have hidden it for so long. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lessons did you learn from the story? Kindly share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye!